Hey there, awesome folks. This is Mentor Shelley, wanting to make sure that you become a better version of yourself professionally, guys. It is great to be here tonight with you guys. I definitely want to get into the discussion about when the sense of duty clashes with common sense. We're going to talk about what that actually means. Of course, as you are coming into the live tonight, go ahead and drop the city and state that you're living in, working in, that you're familiar with, of course. And if you definitely want to join the discussion, please let me know in the comments so I can actually drop the link so you can come up on the podium and join the very healthy discussion. Of course, we're going to be talking about this article from cheeseburger.com. I'm going to place it on the screen in a second, where common sense, where common sense and sense of duty collide. Of course, guys, if you definitely, as you're coming in, like the video, share it with somebody that could definitely benefit from this information. So let's jump right in because I try my ever dear best to stay on task and not be, of course, for anybody that's coming in, drop a 1 in the comments if you are loving that it is Friday. Yeah. All right, it's Friday. But also, we got to talk about some of this because sense of duty should definitely not override common sense, guys. So let's jump into this, shall we? All righty. Okay, now the the title of the article is from Cheeseburger. I don't know why they name it that, but the writer, of course, is Brad P. Dixon. I've actually reviewed quite a few articles that he's written for this particular column. The title of the article, of course, is "We Are Aware of That. Managers want workers to prep store for opening during a level two snow emergency. Draws Irie online." Okay, so we're going to find out what that means. So, at what point are health and safety more important than opening in the middle of a blizzard? I asked that same question when I saw this. Being open and generating revenue may be the most important thing any storefront business operation, if not generating enough revenue to break even to cover your costs. Then what are you even doing? Some industries like tech survive while operating at a loss for years on the backs of angel investors who are hedging their bets that their investments will pay off. But this typically isn't the way that most businesses, particularly service industry businesses, are able to operate. Let's be honest, this hasn't been the best years for service industry, an industry that already operates on a brutally low margin. I will say that. So I definitely understand where they're coming from there. Of course, let's continue. So, managers and owners of these businesses feel an obligation to open doors. After all, a day wasted without trade isn't going to reduce your rent. I get that. But where is the line between where it simply is too unsafe for your employees and customers to travel to its business's location? According to this restaurant, a level 2 snow emergency is still in the clear. See, guys, you have to forgive my ignorance because I'm not that familiar with what a level two snow emergency is. I haven't really lived in the snow. I've been mostly on the southeast end of the country, so I'm familiar with rain. I'm familiar with hurricanes. I'm familiar with flurries, even not necessarily the wonderful world of snow and all of what it offers. So you have to forgive me. I'm going to find out, I guess, in this article what a level 2 snowstorm or snow warning actually means. But let's continue, guys. Of course, so the restaurant posted screenshot of an exchange. A restaurant worker posted screenshot of an exchange between themselves and their manager that took place on their workspace group text. The conversation opens up with the manager informing the group that the business is aiming to open for lunch, operating under limited capacity due to delays of goods. The worker calls the manager out and objects to the decision, simply stating the obvious of the situation. The weather isn't going to allow this to happen without risks to the workers. Let's keep reading this thread so we get a better understanding. Okay. Wow, I live and work in central Ohio, so I know the winters in those places are a tout brutal. Okay. Yeah, they get, winters pretty severe, and that snow is no joke in those parts of the country. Now, the first, of course, there's 7 people on here. It says we'll be open. Good morning. We'll be opening for lunch today. Deliveries from farms will be arriving later than usual, but will still show up sometime later this morning or early afternoon. Take your time getting to work. Give grace to your staff if they are running behind, and if you find you need to delay your opening for any reason, please let Matt and I know. You may have to 86 some items, and that's fine. Just explain to guests that deliveries are running behind due to weather. And one of the team members responded, "We're at a level 2 snow emergency." He responded, "We're aware of that." And it was considered when Matt and Chris made the decision. So the decision was made to still have them come in, although this article was written Tuesday of this week. So here's the other part of it. For those in warmer climates, I'm so glad they took the time to explain this to us that are used to warmer climates. For those in warmer climates who don't understand, stand here, you are. Level 1, roadways are hazardous with blowing and drifting snow. Roads are also icy, so that means black ice might be involved. Drive very cautiously. Okay. Level 2, which is where they were at, roadways are hazardous with blowing and drifting snow. Only those who feel it necessary to drive should be on the roadways. Contact your employer to see if you should report to work. Okay. There may be some dangers there. There may be some black ice, and if there's black ice, that poses a whole lot more danger than anybody wants to deal with. Level 3, all roadways are closed to non-emergency personnel. No one should be out during these conditions unless it is absolutely necessary to travel. All employees should contact their employer to see if they should report to work. However, those traveling on the roadways may be subjecting themselves to prosecution. So of course somebody else responds, in Texas, we would consider a level 0.05 more of a level 3 situation. Right. So it depends on where you are in the country, how that's going to fare. Somebody else responded, I'm not in restaurant, but healthcare. We close our offices today with no snow and normal driving conditions because we had no appointments, and Texans just don't go out for unnecessary things in freezing temperatures. Buddy, here comes another responder. I work at Olive Garden in Texas. We had a full restaurant despite the weather. Oh, wow. So there's different situations that calls for different things. All right, let's continue, guys. Here you go. All right. So the responder says, too bad your car won't start. Guess you can't make it. Another responder says, is that even an excuse anymore? Last time I woke up with a flat tire and the response I got was, grab an Uber and Lyft and we'll see you soon. Yeah, that's no longer an excuse, guys. They can ask you to get an Uber or Lyft all they want. There won't be any on the roads. That's a good point too, because a lot of Uber and Lyft I used to do Uber and Lyft myself. A lot of us are not going to go out in those conditions because we don't want to risk our lives either. Just saying. And I know a lot of Uber drivers. Somebody else said, when I worked at Panera we had a blizzard and the district manager called and said, we're not allowed to punish employees for calling off due to weather conditions. Exactly. That should be in the employee's handbook or the employer's policy. There should be exceptions made for weather conditions nobody can control. But I digress. It says here, we're not allowed to punish employees for calling off due to weather conditions. And I said, yeah, makes sense. But why do I have to be on here then? She didn't give a good answer, and we ended up closing 2 hours later. Let's see. Another responder, you may need to delay your opening. Just delay it for a couple of days until it's safe. I would think so, but hey, some employers and some leaders think differently, which is why there's an issue here. This is one of those days where the staff just has to make it a snow closure themselves. Can't open if no one comes in. Ooh. The shade. Another responder. Tell Matt and Chris, bleep, 100% chance they don't show up today. Okay. All right. Another responder. So true. Or they will roll in for an hour to check up and then have to head out because of something else. I think that's where the article ends. Yeah. So let's go back here. Guys, I want to make sure that you know that a lot of employers may or may not realize this, but if you're putting your employees at risk just to come to work in inclement weather conditions, you're increasing your risk, of course, of your employees getting hurt, getting killed on the way there because of weather conditions. Snowstorms are nothing to play with based on what I've heard. I've never been in one. I've been in the area of snow before, but I have not been in one, thankfully. Like a hurricane, it's dangerous to be out in it, whether it's mild, whether it's heavy, whether it's somewhere in between. And a level 2, if there's any chance, mind you, that there can be black ice involved, I am going to err on the side of caution and not put myself or employees in that danger. That is just my take on the whole thing. But this whole situation brings up really interesting questions, not just from a employer standpoint, but from an employee standpoint. Personally, what do I think of the situation? Here's question number 1, and you guys can also put your thoughts in the chat as well. What do I think of the situation? Number 1, safety for the employee should have been first priority. That's number 1. Number 2, asking the employees to report in a level 2 storm seems a little reckless, and they're going to place themselves and other people while they're trying to drive there in danger, and they could possibly drive into delays because the snowstorm caused all kinds of accidents on the way there. They could get into an accident themselves. They're not sure if black ice has time to form. You don't want to put your employees in that kind of danger. So that's not something I would ever recommend to, coming from an HR standpoint, that's not something I would recommend an employer to do. Level 2, level 3 sounds dangerous enough for black ice to form. And once black ice is in the situation, you want to keep everybody off the roads. This is not something to play with. And of course, guys, if you're the employee in this situation and your employer is asking you to report in a more dangerous position, you may want to consider start looking for another job. And of course, I can definitely help you with that. Make sure you have that resume ready. Make sure and if you don't, and if you need help with getting that resume ready, getting your job search, get your job search into high gear, you can definitely go to mentorshelley.com/consultations, where it can help you with getting that resume together to a level where it can catch the eye of employers that actually put your safety first. Just want to put that out there. All right. Of course, what do I think of this situation? Lastly, unless there are other less dangerous alternatives placed on the table, I wouldn't recommend employees not go in at all, because some of the people in the article did specify that. So that's what I personally think of the situation, only because you do not want to endanger yourself, all for the sake of the almighty dollar. Listen, it's going to cost you more if one of these employees get hurt on the way to work, employer. So you may want to consider some safer options, okay, than this. So this also poses a second question. What do let's see here. Would you, in a leadership position, as a manager, as a supervisor, as a leader of this organization, require your employees to remain, stay back, or come in to prep the store or the restaurant? No. I personally think you're putting them in danger. I've said that already. That's what I think. You know, maybe there will people be putting their lives at risk to actually come into the restaurant or come into the store while there's a level two? 9 times out of 10, everybody's trying to stay inside so they can stay safe too. So, what I am going to say is this. The managers and leaders of this organization, I think, is not really thinking through this. Knowing the unpredictability of a snowstorm, because I'm not personally familiar with it, I only just a teensy weensy bit. I visited Wisconsin for a few days for a graduation some years back, and I saw a little bit of snowfall and then what it did the day after. That was just regular old snow. And there was black ice all over the place. That was dangerous, and it wasn't at a level 1, 2, 3, or 4. That's dangerous enough. So if there's a snowstorm, level 2 snowstorm issue going on, it's too unpredictable. I wouldn't be taking those chances with my own life, much less as a leader, putting my employees at danger or at risk. Because if they're on their way to work and they get into a car accident because of black ice or other snowstormy factors, that exposes you liability to some degree. So if I were you as a leader or as an employer, you definitely have to have inclement weather or weather type of policies in place, knowing that you're going to not put your leaders or your employees in danger. Okay? Because safety needs to be first. Question number 3. What could have been done differently? Not requiring them to come to work. That's one way. Like, let's be clear here. It's just at a level 2. Is it possible that most people are not going to be out moving around doing it? No. Most people are going to be hunkering down, making sure if they had some form of a warning that it's going to be a level 2 or level 3 snowstorm, they've gotten their supplies and they're hunkering down at home. Okay? They're not going to be out at a restaurant, at a store, unless they need to pick up supplies, and they'll be putting themselves at risk as well. Of course. What could have been done differently? Not requiring them to come to the store. Not requiring them to come to the restaurant. I mean, like, that's kind of a no-brainer, because common sense, I understand, common sense and sense of duty seems to have collided in this situation, because at the end of the day, I know you have a business to run, but you want to have employees that can run them, and you're putting their lives at risk by asking them to come out in dangerous situations. So that's what I think could be done differently. Do not require your employees to come out in a snowstorm. Okay? How could have this situation been handled better? Workforce planning is one way. Of course, that's question number 4. What could have been done differently? There could have been, of course, as I said, requirement for the employees not to report to work. The employer should have waited until the weather conditions improved, where they know that the highways and the streets have been salted, so Black ice is not a factor. Yes, the snowstorm may have slowed down, but you may have black ice that still puts people in danger. Wait for weather conditions to become safer. The one thing we cannot control, acts of God when it comes to weather. Please do not put your employees in this type of predicament. Employees, please don't put yourself in that predicament. There, I personally do not think anyone should have been subjected to be in this situation. On either the employer makes that decision, but as an employer, if you are struggling, if you don't have structures, you don't have policies in place, you don't have processes in place to handle this kind of inclement weather, because you have to make sure that there are certain standards you keep in place. Level 2, yes, it might seem like it might be safe, but when it comes to snow and ice and black ice on the streets when people have to drive, you always have to err on the side of more caution than less. So if you are looking for help to structure those type of policies, or to structure those type to pretty much do a lot more workforce planning in situations and in inclement weather situations like this, you can definitely go to mentorshelley.com/HR cons. We will definitely have a conversation. I can help you to structure those processes and put them in place so you can better plan for situations like this. Because, of course, inclement weather kind of not gives you a warning. It kind of shows up and goes, oh, I'm here, deal with me. So it's always best to plan ahead versus being knocked over with, oh, what do I do now kind of situations, okay, as an employer. So I want to make sure that both employer and employee understands that this situation could have been handled differently. The most important piece of this is safety must be first. Okay, guys, safety must be first on the employer side and the employee side. Safety should have been the priority in this situation. And I personally don't think they thought the whole thing through, because the first thing I'm thinking about, although I haven't spent a whole lot of time in snow, I know that black ice and that snow is nothing to play with. So that's nothing. You don't want to put yourself in any kind of danger when it comes to that, nor do you want to put your employees in that kind of a danger. So, of course, guys, if you have additional questions in regards to this situation or any other situation, and you just want to leave that comment in regards to maybe resumes, or maybe as an employer, maybe as a business owner that may have been faced with this type of situation, and you want to ask them questions, just general questions, you go to mentorshelley.com/contact. And you can leave me a voicemail or an email message, and I'm more than happy to return that voicemail or email within 24 hours, guys. Of course, as I've always said, guys, we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So if you found this information helpful, or you know a business owner, or you know employers that have gone through this in the past winter and may need to put a plan in place for an upcoming winter, definitely go to mentorshelley.com/HR cons for that. And of course, as an employee, if you have employers that are requiring you to come out into inclement weather dangers, and you want to make sure that you have the choice of choosing a different employer, and you need help with that as far as your resume is concerned, sharpening up on your interviewing skills, making sure your entire professional portfolio is built in or fleshed out properly to be able to catch the right employer's eye, you can go to mentorshelley.com/consultations, and I'm more than happy to walk through with you or help you complete that whole process, including resumes, cover letters, and other correspondence that will definitely help you to be able to obtain a better job where they prioritize your safety. Of course, guys, if you have additional questions, you can go to mentorshelley.com/contact. You can leave me a voicemail or an email message, and I'm more than happy to return your voicemail and email within 24 hours, guys. If this information helped you, go ahead and like, comment, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go ahead and share it on Facebook and on Twitter, or wherever you're seeing this video, guys. Of course, this is Mentor Shelley wanting to make sure that you become a better version of yourself professionally for the employees. And of course, as an employer that prioritize safety, I want to make sure that you have a company that's becoming a better version of itself on a daily basis. Guys, take care. You have a good one. Bye.